Perhaps you've spent decades removing all the fat from meat before eating it. Your mother did it, your doctor advised it, and you followed it to the letter, believing you were protecting your heart. But what if I told you that science today tells a much more complex story than that? In this video, I'm going to show you what the latest research really says about fat, cholesterol, and heart health, especially for those over 60. Stay until the end, because the most important part comes in the middle, and it completely changes the way most people think about this subject. A form of affection, even. Your mother would set aside the leanest piece for you. Your doctor would reinforce this. Avoid fat, avoid cholesterol, protect your heart. And for a long time, that made perfect sense, because at the time, that was the available knowledge. Doctors gave advice based on what science had shown up to that point, and no one was wrong to follow that advice. But today we have decades more of research. We have studies that have followed millions of people around the world. And what these studies show is that the story is much more complex than blaming a single food. This is where most people get confused. We grow up thinking that heart health is simple. Remove the fat, remove the cholesterol, and you're protected. But the human heart doesn't work that way. The first one sleeps well, walks every day, doesn't smoke, controls her blood pressure and diabetes, and eats fruits, vegetables, and legumes in most meals. The second woman has been smoking for 30 years, is sedentary, has uncontrolled high blood pressure, sleeps poorly, and eats ultra-processed foods every day. Which of the two carries a higher risk of heart problems? The answer seems obvious when you put it like that, right? And that's exactly the point I want you to take away from today's video. Heart disease doesn't have a single cause. It's not one food that clogs an artery. It's a combination of factors that over the years influence cardiovascular health. This helps me a lot to continue bringing this type of information to you. The problem starts when the street becomes congested, poorly maintained, full of potholes with cracks in the walls. Then traffic grinds to a halt, and that's when the risk appears. High blood cholesterol can be a warning sign, but it alone doesn't explain everything. There's a detail that almost no one talks about. What really seems to increase cardiovascular risk is not just cholesterol itself, but the overall condition of the arteries. And that condition is influenced by many things besides the fat in meat. Chronic inflammation, for example. You know when you bump your knee and it gets red, swollen, and hot? That's inflammation. It's the body trying to protect itself. Now imagine a silent inflammation which you don't feel happening inside your arteries over the course of years. This chronic inflammation is one of the factors that most worries cardiovascular health specialists today. And what causes this inflammation? Many things. Excess sugar, ultra-processed foods, sedentary lifestyle, smoking, chronic stress, poor sleep, uncontrolled high blood pressure, uncontrolled diabetes. Do you realize how long the list is? And what they began to emphasize was not a specific food to cut out or to include. What they began to highlight was the dietary pattern as a whole. This means that removing the fat from meat is pointless if the rest of the diet is poor. Avoiding butter isn't very helpful if you eat a whole package of filled cookies every day. It's not very helpful to cut out eggs if you drink soda with every meal. According to the most current evidence, what protects the heart is a balanced diet overall. One that is rich in vegetables, fruits, legumes, quality proteins, healthy fats, and low in ultra-processed foods, refined sugar, and excess salt. There is a very common mistake among people over 60, focusing so much on a single food that they end up ignoring the rest. They go years without eating eggs, years without eating meat with a sliver of fat, years depriving themselves of things that perhaps wouldn't be so harmful in the context of a balanced diet, and at the same time they remain sedentary. They continue to have uncontrolled blood pressure. They continue to sleep poorly. They continue to be under constant stress. I'm not saying that saturated fat is harmless. I'm not saying you can eat anything you want. I'm saying that heart health is much more important than a single food. And perhaps it's worth looking at the whole picture, not just one piece of meat. The next time you sit down to eat a meal, or arrive at a barbecue with the family, or look at your plate and wonder what you can or can't eat, take a second and ask yourself these questions. How has my diet been throughout the week? Not just today, the whole week. Am I eating vegetables, legumes, and fruits regularly? Am I overdoing it with ultra-processed foods, processed meats, and industrially produced sweets? Do I engage in any physical activity? Even if it's just a light walk a few days a week? Is my blood pressure under control? Do I know what my number is? If I have diabetes, is it being properly managed? Am I following my doctor's instructions? Do I smoke? Because that's one of the biggest factors affecting cardiovascular health, regardless of any food. Am I sleeping well? Because poor sleep over time also affects the heart. Do you realize how the list of things that matter is much longer than a piece of meat? This person did what they could with the knowledge they had, and that deserves respect. But today, with what science shows us, we know that taking care of the heart requires a much broader perspective. It's not about food. It's about a lifestyle. It's about choices made every day, silently, without anyone seeing. The walk you take early in the morning, the glass of water you drink during the day, the cigarette you decided to quit, the doctor's appointment you didn't postpone, the sleep you started to respect. It is these choices added up over time that make the real difference in heart health. That it doesn't depend on a perfect, impossible-to-follow diet. That it depends on paying attention to your overall health, your lifestyle, your routine. And it's never too late to start looking at all of this more carefully. If you are over 60, have lived a long life, learned a lot, and experienced so much, you have every ability to make choices that will protect your health going forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be consistent. Small choices made every day often make a much bigger difference than a single piece of meat. And you deserve to have this information presented clearly, honestly, and without exaggeration. That's what I tried to bring to you today. And your response can help other people who have the same question you had before watching this video. If you found this content helpful, please leave a like now. This greatly helps the channel grow and continue bringing quality information to more people like you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Click the red button below and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. And before you leave, there's a video playing on the screen that I chose especially for you to watch now. It complements everything we talked about today and will surprise you. Go ahead. See you in the next video.